Of all the fighting games released in the 1990s, not many can claim to have made an impact like Street Fighter 2. Capcom's one-on-one fighting game captivated gamers across the world with its blend of incredible graphics, bone-crunching sound, memorable music and addictive, timeless gameplay. Street Fighter 2 transcended gaming, spawning anime shows, action figures and a live-action movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Kylie Minogue. In fact, without Street Fighter 2, there would be no fighting game community like we see today. And it's no exaggeration to say that EVO's roots are planted firmly in Street Fighter 2's foundations. During the 1990s, every gamer on every platform wanted to play Street Fighter 2, which meant it came to almost every system at the time, irrespective of their power or capability. The ZX Spectrum, the Commodore Amiga, Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, Saturn and everything in between. No one was safe from the juggernaut that was Street Fighter 2. And if you didn't own a console or a computer, Tiger Electronics had you covered with their own, albeit basic, handheld unit. But what about the SEGA Master System? If you look at all the systems that Street Fighter 2 released on, this one may have passed you by. In 1997, while the world had moved on to the likes of Super Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter Alpha, Brazilian developer and publisher Tec Toy decided to port Street Fighter 2 to Sega's aging 8-bit console. How did it fare? And how did they do it? Let's find out. Tec Toy had been planning to port Street Fighter 2 to the Master System long before 1997. Despite their best efforts to convince Sega otherwise, they were denied approval, with Sega saying that it wasn't technically possible. Tec Toy were stubborn though, and they wouldn't take no for an answer. They extracted sprites and backgrounds from the Mega Drive version of Special Champion Edition, using emulators, adapting them to the Master System hardware, adding some basic movement to the characters, and went on to build a tech demo, hoping to convince Sega to greenlight the project. It didn't work. Sega once again turned Tec Toy down. So what did they do? They said to hell with it and set about porting the game anyway, defying Sega and spending the next 5 months developing their Master System version. In total, development took 7 months, which included the 2 months that Tec Toy spent stripping assets from the Mega Drive version and adapting them to the Master System. Gameplay wise, it's Street Fighter 2, albeit stripped down for the host hardware. The port is a strange mix of Special Champion Edition and Super Street Fighter 2, in that the title screen matches the blue and green tone of SCE, but has the character portraits from Super Street Fighter 2, which were also lifted from the Mega Drive port. The backgrounds have had a lot of detail removed, which is understandable. That said, even with the amount of detail that has been removed, they're still instantly recognisable. The fighters look remarkably good and haven't been butchered too much during their move from Mega Drive to Master System. Animation isn't as smooth as the 16-bit versions, but again, that's expected. And if you were used to how characters moved on Master System, this wouldn't have come as a surprise to anyone. Let's just say if you've played Alter Beast or Shadow Dancer on Master System, you'll have an idea about how the characters move. The sound though is surprisingly good, with crisp voice samples for both the fighters and the announcer. The music is also stellar, again taking the host platform into consideration. It's not going to win any awards for audio work, but it gets the job done. In terms of playable fighters, we have 8 down from 12 on Special Champion Edition. Ryu, Ken, Blanka, Gaio, Chun-Li, Balrog, Sagat and M. Bison make the cut and are all playable from the start. So presentation wise, Tec Toy are off to a flyer. But how does it play? And this is where the cracks begin to show. The Master System controller, as you know, has just two buttons, 1/start and 2. In Tec Toy's Street Fighter 2, 1 is assigned to punch and 2 is kick. Now to me, that's no big deal, because at the time Street Fighter 2 was making its way into everyone's home, this gamer right here was playing Street Fighter 2 on the Commodore Amiga. Not only did I have to load the game off of 4 3.5-inch floppy disks, but the Amiga used a joystick with a single solitary button. So if you wanted to have separate buttons for punch and kick, you had to play with the keyboard and assign them manually. Yep, the struggle was real, folks. Back on the Master System, each character has just two moves, one punch and one kick. Ryu and Ken have their Hadouken fireballs and the Hurricane kick, but the Dragon Punch is nowhere to be seen. Chun-Li has her Lightning kick and fireball, while Guile can use his trademark Sonic Boom and Flash kick. Blanka can use his electricity attack as well as his rolling attack. Saga has the Tiger Knee and Tiger Shot, but the Tiger Uppercut joins Ryu and Ken's Dragon Punch on the cutting room floor. M. Bison can use his Psycho Crusher and Scissor Kick, meaning the main man has his two most iconic moves intact. But poor Balrog, one special move, the Dash Punch, activated with the exact same charge method but executed via either punch or kick. Now it's understandable why so many moves were dropped, keeping in mind that Tec Toy had to fit 8 characters, 8 backgrounds, speech samples, music and multiple moves per character. I checked the ROM size while making this video and it's just 819 kilobytes. When things start to move though, the illusion is broken entirely. Street Fighter 2 on the Master System is borderline unplayable, and trust me, I tried. I love Street Fighter 2 and I love the Master System, and I owed it to both of them to push through, but it was tough. The frame rate is so low that it's a borderline slideshow at times, and the hit detection on the fighters ranges from the ridiculous to the non-existent. The biggest gameplay issue though isn't the frame rate or the hitboxes, it's the special moves. They're an absolute pain in the arse to try and execute, despite having the same command inputs as the arcade and console ports. Pulling off a Hadouken or a Hurricane kick is complete luck, and I found that simply mashing the down diagonals and hitting punch or kick repeatedly somehow fluked the game into pulling off the specials. This isn't a get good moment on my part, more of a no good moment on the game's behalf. It just isn't fun to play, but it's just such an intriguing project that we had to cover it. Amusingly though, I discovered pretty quickly that you can just spam the game to win. Get close enough to your opponent to land a punch or a kick, and just hit the same button over and over while holding the D-pad towards them. Other gameplay details missing entirely are the lack of round counters beside the energy bar to show how many rounds each player has won, and you can't knock enemies dizzy in the Master System version. Again, likely down to the fact it would mean another 8 character models showing their dizzy state, and Tec Toy simply didn't have the headroom. Another cutback is that the character specific endings are removed entirely, replaced with a screen showing portraits of Balrog, Sagat and M. Bison, the same one seen in Special Champion Edition when you beat the game using a boss character, with a generic well done message underneath. The staff credit roll is also lifted straight from Special Champion Edition, but with the names of the people who worked specifically on this version added in. Now I could only find a single review of the game, hidden away on page 11 of issue 121 of Brazilian gaming magazine Acau Gaming. They scored it a very generous 7.5 out of 10, and I waited until I'd written down my own views on the game before translating their review. So let's have a look at what they had to say. The game, based on the Ryu and Ken saga, developed in Brazil and one of the most ambitious made for the Master System. The graphics are good, considering the console's limitations, and the sound comes with several digitised voices, a novelty. It's a shame that the gameplay isn't perfect. It's almost impossible to cast the spells, special moves, but apart from that, it's a good fighting game for the Master System crowd. So pretty much on par with my own impressions when playing it for this video. The thing is though, you have to respect the effort that Tec Toy put into this. They had belief not only in themselves, but in the Master System too, that the platform and its large fan base deserved a port of the fighting game of the early to mid 1990s. It was sheer defiance from Tec Toy's coders, who refused to take no for an answer, and in many ways their attitude embodies the current talent pool in Brazilian game development just now. I mean, just look at the Brazilian Mega Drive homebrew scene. We've got legendary figures like Gabriel Pyron, Master Linkway, Mauro Xavier and Rio Gamer, who are bringing games to the Mega Drive that we never thought possible. Batman Returns, Mortal Kombat Arcade Edition, Final Fight MD and Fatal Fury, to name just one project from each of them respectively. The packaging for the Master System version of Street Fighter 2 though has to be seen to be believed. The blue border borrows heavily from the PAL Mega Drive cases seen in the later part of its life. The artwork cheekily shows the SEGA logo and the Capcom logo, despite Tec Toy having no permission from SEGA to port the game or permission from Capcom to use the license. The back of the box hypes up the release. 8 Street Fighters, 8 different styles, 8 champions with a single goal. Survive the most dangerous tournament ever created by man, Street Fighter. Ryu, M. Bison, Ken, Guile, Chun-Li, Blanka, Sagat and Balrog will be side by side in violent combat, where the greatest pleasure is not only in defeating the opponent, but in making him suffer as much as possible. Join them in this incredible battle and show that you are more than just a video game player. Show that you are a master of fighting and that you are not afraid of ugly faces and tons of muscles. Okay. Street Fighter 2 on the Master System may well have ultimately proven SEGA right. It was a stretch too far for everyone's favourite 8-bit console, but they gave it a right good go. My takeaway from this experience is that Tec Toy laid the earliest foundations for homebrew that would become commonplace in the SEGA community decades later, with unlicensed ports that aim to push the hardware further than ever before. It may not have seen the light of day in major markets like the US, Japan and Europe, but Tec Toy gave its Master System audience what they thought it wanted, and for that they have to be commended. If you've made it to the end, thanks as always for watching, and what are your memories of Street Fighter 2 on the Master System? Have you played it? Would you like to play it? Are you from Brazil and did you own this back in the day? What was your reaction to getting it home and firing it up? We'd love to hear your thoughts and memories, so get involved in the comments below. This has been James the SEGAHolic of the Sega Guys, and until next time, we'll see you on the Sega side.